to buy a terminal.
Amazing. Okay. Well, intros. Who needs intros?
You know what?
I'm gonna reintroduce everybody, and this will be worked out. So thank you all for joining. Sorry that apparently when I go screen only, it does not work as we expected. Let's go back to that. Reintroduce ourselves. We've got Paria, full stack engineer. He's doing a lot of front end and back end. He's built the custom plugin markup editor. He also has done a lot of our 3D renders and things that you see in the marketing site or our crowdfunding launch. So if any of the visuals compelled you to get involved with Terminal, he probably had something to do with it. Next we have Brian, who has primarily, I think, a biz dev founder background, but he's lately gotten into product and engineering, and he's working on partnerships as well as custom plugins and helping us QA the product before everybody watching this gets access. Then we've got Ronak over here. I'm following my hand backwards in reverse. And Ronak does a lot of the stuff you don't see. Those are his words when we were muted a moment ago. But really just super heavy backend guy. He's helped architect all of our plugins. He also just released the public plugin marketplace this morning. And so those of you who have the developer edition, we can get you access to the portal today. Just join the developer only Discord and we'll get you a device ID so you can register. Next, we've got Dan. Dan's working on marketing, consumer, socials, managing the community. This white guy over there. And Dan is kind of, I think, maybe the only one among us with e-commerce experience, which is interesting and necessary because Terminal is software, but it's also hardware. It's also e-commerce. So that's been interesting, and we've been learning from him. And then next we've got Bogdan, who you see on one of these sides of the screen. He's dialing in from Ukraine, and we wish you could be here with us, but there's some circumstances that prevent that. And Bogdan is really the reason why we are all here today watching the stream and joining on the stream. He's a hardware engineer, and he's kind of created the idea into something physical and tangible. And all of us are software guys, so without Bogdan, we wouldn't be able to get this thing shipped. And then lastly, I'm Ryan. I'm, I guess, original founder dude, but yeah, kind of focused on a mix of, oh my God, this is why I shouldn't have done the intros. Next, we have Lucian. I've actually been working with Lucian for 6-7 years. Yes, our last company together, and he's just a fantastic, incredible designer. So everything that you see that looks ooh and ah and really nice is thanks to him. From our design system on the UI to just how plugins look, and a lot of our API docs and examples are all from Lucian. He has spent ungodly amounts of time over the last few months just making fonts look good, just working out the factors required to render things in a lower resolution screen than we're all used to today. That's all thanks to Lucian. And so at this point, I don't really do much of anything. I'm here to respond to people on Discord, emails, angry customers, hopefully not so angry customers, focused on a mix of marketing and plugins. So yeah, glad to be here. Thank you all for joining. Thanks for dealing with our first couple minutes of that moment of silence that we had. And I'm going to try to switch to a different screen. I want to show you my screen, and I also want to talk through just some of the stuff that we're up to lately, because I know everyone's patiently and sometimes impatiently waiting to get their terminal in the mail. So yeah, first let's check if anybody in chat has said anything. Are there any new issues? No audio. We got the audio. Why aren't there any on the wall behind you, says Paul. That's not true. Yeah. Look, Paul. Audio.
Got him.
Classic clock plugin here.
Okay, we're so back. Yes, we're so back. Doc in the chat. What's up, Doc? Thank you, Doc. He first person ever to review a terminal device. His YouTube video is out, and appreciate you doing that. And then we've got Rory in here. Thank you, Rory, also for joining and for all of your work early on in custom plugin development. So yeah, let me show you maybe a little bit about what we're working on this week. I'm actually going to just share my screen again. You should be able to see this agenda here. Let's walk through what's going on. So first and foremost, everybody's probably curious, where is my device? And that's a fair question. We have just been getting some unexpected delays from the factories, but everything is paid for. It has been, everything is in a various state of either being shipped here or still being manufactured or actually has arrived. So far what's arrived is a lot of the small stuff, USB-C cables. We've got a couple thousand of these now, this nice terminal branding. We've also got cleaning cloths and just some of those accessories. We have branded boxes, so you can expect to get one of these with your device or your devices. We're going to have a few different boxes coming in the mail. And then we're going to also have screens, EPD screens, coming in today. That should be over 2,000 screens. This was the largest purchase order I've personally ever made and that Terminal has ever made. And so this was the one that we had to make once the Kickstarter campaign ended, so that we had the funding for it, because we're pretty much bootstrapping Terminal. Whereas the other components we were able to begin ordering back in July. So hopefully that gives us a little sense of what's going on. I'm trying to get a few hundred of our new cases to arrive in the mail in the next couple weeks so that we can ship some devices immediately. And to give you a sense of what those cases look like today, we have the black case, which has the nice soft touch. It has the new shinier aluminum kickstand than what you might have seen in some of our older demo videos. We also have a brand new white case, which is very white and it looks good on a wall. Whereas our previous white case, kind of translucent. Yeah, let me show you full screen. Here's our current, most recent black case. It looks great. You can't feel it through the camera, but it is a soft rubbery touch. That's thanks to Bogdan. Next, we've got a new white case, and this is kind of a view of the internals as well, where you can kind of see the ribs and everything that holds together the PCB and the screen. And this is a much better version than our previous white case, which was kind of not white, kind of translucent, and we're much happier with this one. And next we've got two iterations on the clear case. So this was the middle level, I don't know, second, third example run of our clear case. And there are just a lot of, if I hold my hand behind it, a lot of flaws and scuff marks that aren't so fun to look at. But our new clear case, somewhere, not that one, let's see. This one is much better. It's kind of got more of the frosted look. It doesn't have random scuff marks everywhere. And I think we're gonna be really happy with it. So, it's an update on cases. That is kind of the main limiting factor now. Cases need 30 days to arrive by sea. So what we're trying to do is get a bunch of them shipped by, that was me. We're trying to get a bunch of them shipped by air so that we can start shipping products really soon. So that's a hardware update. Let's see, next we've got some hackathon progress. I wanna do a mix of screen sharing here and letting these other guys talk more so that I can just listen and enjoy. But let's first get to the Discord questions. Socrates asks, I'd like to know much more about the developer experience. What are we able to do today versus what's expected in the next few months? So I'll probably let someone else chat about this, but what you can do today is essentially everything, but it's not all documented. I think that's the best way to describe it. So today you can write or fork your own firmware. You can build plugins just for you. You can build plugins for other people. Amazing. You can build plugins that other people connect to your own service. You can list those plugins publicly. You can do everything today. It's just not all documented yet. So what I think you're gonna see, what you're gonna be able to expect in the next few months is just better documentation for developers and hopefully even for non-developers to kind of sort of a no-code approach to pointing terminal to their own server or even to like a Zapier account or something like that. But today you can already do a lot. We have a functioning API. We have around 50 native plugins and we have some developers like Rory, who I think is in the chat here, already building their own. Wesley asks or says, I think we can't create a terminal account to get our device. So that's not totally true. Fortunately, we have a back door, and so if you would like to get access to the web UI, just join the developer only Discord. Everyone who has the developer edition upgrade did get invited to this Discord yesterday, and so you can join that. If you didn't get the invite, just ping us and we'll get you in there. If you'd like to get involved as a developer upgrade, it's just $10. So email team@useterminal.com and we'll send you a checkout link. Even if you're not a developer, it may be worth it because it's going to give you access to just more of the UI and get you involved with more of our product roadmap. So yeah, you can do a lot right now, even without a device, once we get you that beta login. And next, we've got someone named Jip and Nope. Interesting name. It says, are we still waiting on suppliers? Yes, we're still waiting on some suppliers. And if you're just joining now, you can rewind a couple minutes to see the timeline for that. So yeah, next I'm going to hand it over to Brian. How does our current team use Terminal? Some of you may be curious about that. What's the process for building a custom plugin? Again, we don't have this very well documented. So I'm going to hand it over to Brian, who I think has a unique perspective as a business guy recently becoming an engineer. So Brian, how do you use Terminal and how easy or difficult is it to build on top of Terminal?
Well, thanks, Ryan. And that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked me. I'd love to hear from everybody because we all, I think, pretty much have like test devices and we all build stuff. So I'd love to hear from everybody on like how you're using Terminal. But for me, there's kind of like two things. And I think my first way that I'm using my device is like the sort of standard use case that we've like pitched to in all the marketing channels of like, I have a new product that I'm building and I would definitely be checking analytics tools like every single day and it's like a very small product. So it's like, it's also a little bit depressing to go to an analytics tool. I'm using Simple Analytics because we have a terminal plugin with them. And it would just be kind of like disappointing to go and see that we've had 5 people show up to our marketing site and like refresh it all the time. So it's really awesome to have that on the wall. And so I can just kind of see sort of passively over time, are we getting traffic spikes and kind of it's very much that standard use case of like, I shouldn't be wasting time going and obsessively checking our stats all the time. The other thing that I kind of like using my terminal for is just kind of like reminding me of things, reminding myself of like the things I want to do and who I want to be, like passively. So like Brian mentioned, I'm more of a business guy, but I also like to try to write software. So one of the things that I do, like I have my GitHub contributions up. And so it's like whatever the timing is, I probably have 6 or 7 plugins. So like once every hour or 2, I can remind myself if I'm actually like working on the craft of like shipping software and like seeing like, I had a lot of contributions for a while and I kind of now see that those contributions are like every day moving away. So it just kind of reinforces my like desire or like even just reminding me to like do the thing that I want to do. So those are kind of like the 2 main things that I immediately like I find to be really useful. Does anybody else want to talk about how you're using your device? What you find to be cool?
I would say one thing for me is I'm on my phone way too much and really actively trying to stop being on my phone a lot. And it's just a nice additional blocker, right? I do things like putting my phone in the other room and relying on it to just continue to show things. So yeah, I'm just tired of staring at screens all day. I'm always locked in. And then I've got all these different instances, right? I write my own email newsletter, right? So seeing information through there is good. Working with Shopify stores, seeing information there. So really being able to see everything in one dashboard is nice as well. But yeah, those are a couple of things that I've been using it for and been helping me out with.
I use it so that in the morning, when I wake up, the first thing I do isn't check my phone, because like I have to see when my first meeting is going to be, like for my job. But oftentimes, if I go check my calendar on my phone, then all the notifications and I go off into a rabbit hole. But when I put the calendar on the terminal, I can leave my phone off in the morning. I can make sure that I've got enough time to like go to the gym or do whatever before turning on the phone. Also, like when my girlfriend wants to check if I'm gonna like what time we might be able to eat lunch or something, like she's always asking me like, when do you have your meetings today? Or sometimes she has to like kind of interrupt me in the middle of work to see like what's my meeting schedule for the day. I can just put it all in the terminal, just say like, look at the sign.
Yeah,
Of course, you've purchased a separate device.
yeah,
for
we're
her, right?
running a
Because you're-
special on the girlfriend terminal. It's 30% off to make up for the. Should I say that joke? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ronak, do you want to go?
So, for me, like I might be biased, like because like we have been doing this for like about 8-9 months now. But for me, the biggest advantage of terminal is like looking at things passively. In this like mobile first world, wherein the notification kind of grabs you in, and it's like utter time waste, like wherein you just scroll and you scroll, keep scrolling it. So having no distraction mode, plugins with which shows analytics and stats passively. So it does two purposes. One, you could look at it passively, and second, it keeps reminding you to focus on metrics, KPIs, and try to do better every day. So that's how I use it, and for me, it's been a great game changer till now. Yeah.
I want to ask Bogdan. So if you're just joining, Bogdan's our hardware engineer. He's dialing in from Ukraine. How do you use Terminal since we got started with this?
To be honest, the best use case today, I'm just checking for the screensavers and new beautiful. I'm really. I would like to use the Google Calendar, but I'm not the person who are using the calendar. So I feel like I need to use Google Calendar because I have Terminal. Like Terminal selling me. But really, I'm most in how the features, the technical features work. I don't know. I'm just enjoying from them. Like recently, when I tested my up when 4 different plugins working together, tested block. We had recent some Wikipedia random stuff. Our days, like the plugins that 100% works. There is still some which are in development, like I don't know. I don't have the killer feature. I have terminals. I'm just checking all of them, working well and feeling good. That's my.
Chat
My
can't
work.
hear him, so we're gonna have to summarize that.
Yeah, right.
Chat didn't hear him.
No, they can't hear anything. So.
What the heck? Okay, thank you, Bogdan. Apparently, the audio is not syncing through from chat, even though we did a
Summarize.
we
what
did
you
a
said.
test earlier. But Bogdan has a bunch of devices, as you can imagine, and so he's using like screensavers. He's also being encouraged to use plugins that he otherwise, the tools themselves, he wouldn't otherwise use often, like Google Calendar, and yeah. And personally, I like actually using Terminal to look at stuff that I otherwise wouldn't remember to look at. So I'm almost using Terminal to force more information into my life, whether that's the random Wikipedia articles to just learn random new things every day, or even like Bible verses, just stories, motivational quotes. I'm not gonna stop what I'm doing and open a Bible or a book. Readwise is one of our most recent plugins that I've also really enjoyed connecting with, because I'll highlight a passage of a book that I read while traveling in 2017, and now thanks to Terminal, I can be reminded of those ideas while working during the day. So yeah, sorry for all the technical difficulties. I guess we didn't think this would happen, and this is totally expected. Let's see if there's any thoughts, any questions in the chat. I'll go just to us only on the camera while we look at that. Summarize what he said. Nice. Thanks, Jared. Nobody said it is so low. Is that the volume, perhaps? Maybe he was coming through and the volume was just really low.
Yeah, I don't think his volume. I think they were hearing Bogdan through our mic.
Yeah,
okay.
I think we should just.
Okay, right on. Yeah, right on. Let's see what other stuff we could talk about.
Yeah, by the way, I have like one sound to share
Oh,
about
please.
how I use the terminal, because like for me it was more like I was seeing so many different plugins because I work on all of them at the same time, trying to perfect how they all look like and so on. So I had like so many displayed, I couldn't focus on just one. But I realized in this last half a year or more what I really liked, and it was something that I didn't expect at all. And what I did was I added the plugin GitHub commit graph, right? And I added my friends, my friend who I don't see often anymore because we live like so far away from each other. So I added that, and that's my favorite screen, just to be able to check up on my friend, like every day, see if he's doing his work, if he's doing all right.
Keep up with your friends. Keep up with your friends' Git hygiene, their GitHub health.
But it just has such a nice feeling when it's kind of like, yeah. And you know what? Of course, like you could go on his GitHub page and refresh every day, but first of all, that's kind of weird to have like a tab open just for that. But you know what? If it's in a frame, it's almost like a picture, and then suddenly it's not weird. It's something that I never experienced before. Yeah.
Suddenly it's not weird. Terminal.
Yes.
Nice.
Terminal is for everyone, like for kids, for adults.
Yeah, interesting. Why don't I share my screen? Let's try that again and show a couple of things in our UI, because I know not everybody here has access to a beta device. So I'm gonna share my screen, throw us in the corner.
Kenji asked, is the team still accepting plugin ideas? If you want to talk real quick about the plugin.
Sure. Yeah, we are accepting plugin ideas. If you go to useterminal.com/roadmap, that will redirect you here. This is where we're publishing some of the requests that have come in to us personally through our inbox. You can email team@useterminal.com with a plugin request. If you go here, we'll also guide you through kind of how to do that. You can copy paste this and send it over. We'll do the heavy lifting, but any information you send is just a nice couple breadcrumbs to get us started. Couple of the plugins that we're most excited about are the ones that we still just need more intel to build. So for example, all of this home automation stuff, NetAtmo, Home Assistant, we would love to make Terminal look something like this, but we don't want to rebuild all of these widgets ourselves, right? So that doesn't seem like a great use of time for anybody, but we also don't want to convert a beautiful Home Assistant dashboard into key value text labels. That's no fun either. So trying to figure out the best approach there. Also as it relates to security, if you have a Home Assistant on your local network, you would have to somehow publish that to the web in order for us to tap into it. So just navigating all of that, but we're open to ideas. We are anxious to continue building plugins. But I think our new plugin marketplace, which went live a few hours ago, is also going to help us. If someone wanted to start building an MVP and then hand it over to us, we can see kind of what your approach was, and then we can take it the rest of the way and perhaps make it a native plugin if that would take a load off of you as the developer, and also it would be giving us a nice head start for what to build and how to build it. But yeah, let me show you a couple of things. So here's our dashboard. Now we're looking at a really wide monitor here, so a little bit more fleshed out on average. But here you've got some basic stats about the plugins that are connected on your device. And we kind of call that a playlist. So think of it as just an ordering of content that is refreshing as often as you want. And you establish those refresh intervals when you're looking at each plugin. So here's a really simple plugin. It's a weeks till retirement. You can see I have quite a ways to go, and you can plug in your birthday and when you think you want to retire. And that's it. And you're going to get reminded every 15, 30 minutes, however you set up your playlist, how soon or how long you have to go. And then when you go into your plugins UI, here's where we have all of our currently native plugins, around 50. You're going to see yours that are connected up top, and then down below you can add new ones. And so something Lucian mentioned, if I wanted to, look at my homies, I could spy on Lucian, is he okay? And I can go over to GitHub and probably, are you
Yeah.
like that?
No, just, I got the the OG.
You got the OG?
I got the OG handle.
Wow, nice. Okay,
It's the original avatar as well.
nice. So I can plug him in, and I don't know if there's something that he's working on. Maybe you don't commit on these public things.
No, I don't do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's actually not a good example, and I can't spy on him. But you're gonna plug in, basic settings, and then you're gonna be able to spy on your friends here. If you wanted to set up something else like simple analytics, we actually made our own web analytics public. So I think you can find this if you Google terminal simple analytics. We can produce charts and graphs, not just text. We can do images, graphics, PNG, SVG, whatever. And you're going to be able to plug all that in here as well. And then once you've connected the plugins that you want to see, you can go over to playlists, and here you can drag and drop things around. And this is how you can sort of establish that ordering. But we're trying to be really careful with the user experience here. We don't want to make something super granular, because now terminal is more of a chore to keep up with. We think that part of the benefit of using a tool like Terminal is that you can detach yourself from urgency and information. If you have your phone notifications pushing you all the time, once something happens, your phone tells you. We sort of are bullish, or we're bearish on the idea that you need to know what happened when it happened. We're actually bearish on the idea that you even need to know what happened. And so we're hoping we can increase a healthy level of ignorance with Terminal, but the stuff that you do care about, you'll see eventually, whether that's in the next 15 minutes or just sometime, this afternoon. And so we have some kind of quirky plugins like a clock, which is not even right twice a day.
It's kind of a meme.
It's kind of a meme. Just lets you know around what time it is. Is it time for lunch or time for dinner? And you can connect email newsletters, a lot of personal use cases and work use cases. And then you'll notice in the top right, we have this device picker. I'm naturally testing all of our different device colors, and we've got some images people don't like. And then we've got each device has its own plugin, its own plugins, and its own playlist. And so eventually when you come to the dashboard, you'll be able to see stats based on each of your plugins. And currently we have a little bit of an aggregate. So hopefully your dashboard is something that you can glance at every once in a while. Your playlist is where you can go to rearrange things. Your plugins tab is where you can go to connect new things or even build plugins. And then of course your account is where you can manage stuff. So there's no subscriptions. Once you're in Terminal, you have access to this forever, forever until we die. So like most things. So yeah, let me show you actually a custom plugin though, because I want to show off some of what Paria has been working on. If you go down here to custom plugin, I'm going to just, we're going to take a risk here, try a live demo, something that only I can see. I'll zoom in a bit. And we can create this plugin, send data to this plugin through webhooks or by polling your server. So we're going to use polling here. And then we're going to plug in a sample endpoint that we created a little bit ago. And that's it. So now that I've created a custom plugin and I have pointed it to a data source, and here's that data source for all of the geeks watching, just got a couple of key value pairs. We can now go in here and start developing or designing what that plugin is going to look like. So go to this markup editor. You can see we have an in-browser text editor. And this morning we actually added something new, a gallery. So if you don't want to start writing your markup from scratch or even have to look at our knowledge base or our design system, you can kind of take the easy route, click on one of these templates, and you can start building right away. And what I want to do is I want to try a force refresh of that data source that I plugged in, which again is just this right here. And let's refresh our page. And you can see that I now have that data coming in. So let's grab a quick start example. And this is kind of like a title with text sort of vibe. If you look at this preview image right there, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to use liquid syntax, which is double curly bracket with the variable name. And let's change this to that author variable we see up here. And then let's go inside of the content section. I'm going to get rid of all of this hard-coded example text, and I'm going to change that to text. So we've got two variables, and just like your regular text editor or computer apps you're used to using, I'm gonna hit Command S or Control S to save that. And now we've got a custom plugin, front end, back end, all done. I didn't even have to go to the API doc. So once you build this, you now have access to it on your playlist. So I've got this live demo. I can go to my playlist and you can see that it was already added to the bottom of my playlist. So I can move it up, and now this is gonna be the next one or two things that I see on my terminal device, on my white rig device, without touching other servers. So pretty cool. There's a lot more you can do with custom plugins and with public plugins. If you're watching this and you want to take a quick note, if you go to plugins my new hidden URL, you can actually start building plugins for our public marketplace, and you'll be able to then submit those for review and let other people connect. So it's just a really quick overview of the web UI. Let's see if there's any other questions.
Rory's got a couple of questions in the chat.
Sure.
One, can we promote self-made apps on the wish list? So can you promote self-made apps?
Yes, we don't have a stack yet for that. So when you have a self-made app and you submit it for review, we can just take a look at it, make sure it works, make sure it seems secure. We'll probably want an account on your website to test it out. And then we can absolutely, feature it in a roundup, newsletter, email, socials, and all that good stuff. As you can see, this is a pretty flat team, flat org we have here. There's no bureaucracy. I hope there never will be. So if you start hacking on something interesting, just submit it for review. We'll take a look at it in a day or so, and then we can get it published in the App Store. So I think, Rory, I imagine you'll be the first published plugin builder. I'm looking forward to that. Let's see, we got a few more chats. Uptime Kuma. I don't know about that app. Is it an Uptime robot?
Is basically, it tells you when your website is down.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have actually, to give you a perspective, we did thought about it, right? Whenever a server goes down, we need to be notified. But the problem is, if your server goes down and if terminal renders it after 30 minutes or an hour, you might have 10 items in your playlist. So then that plugin will not do justice, because that needs immediate attention, wherein terminal is only for things which you should not be bothered about, or it should be very passive information. So but we can still consider it if enough people recommend it.
Yeah, the Uptime sort of reminds me of our clock plugin. It's always going to be wrong by at least 15 minutes, so it may be better to stick with other tools that can more instantaneously bother you for uptime. But definitely, in theory, that's something we could build very quickly. Rick says he's interested in an always-on display from his weather station. Rick, I'm not sure what weather station you use. Is it the one called weather station by Tempest or another? We are trying to get in touch with some of those teams to get access to their hardware so that we can go ahead and get that built. But we'd love to have weather stations up and running. Maybe you'd keep a terminal by your front door or by your coat rack or something like that. But yeah, I don't think you'll have to build it on your own. This is a popular request, so we'll get this done natively, Rick. And yeah, at the very least, like you kind of alluded to, we could probably take screenshots of your own publicly shareable weather dashboard, but preferably, we'll just build that natively. Josh, late to the show as usual. Hey, we wouldn't know that that's as usual for you. We had technical difficulties as usual. Multiple times we muted Bogdan.
Yeah, I think right on time, honestly. After
honestly.
Yeah.
Can a user force refresh other plugins? Not currently. We're just trying to preserve our compute power because Terminal is a one-time sale and we're not charging subscription fees. We're trying to keep things as lean as possible without hurting the user experience. So currently, if you build a custom plugin, you can click to force refresh that every 8 seconds. We don't want developers to have to wait around to perfect their project. But for the regular native use case, when we're confident at how it works and how it renders, we don't currently have a way to force refresh, but that is by design. However, this week we're kind of doing a hackathon, and one of the tasks that Ronak is working on right now is actually upgrading our worker box so that we can actually scale to a lot more customers than even the 1,500 devices that I think we've already pre-sold to you guys. Ken asks, will there be an option to schedule playlists, for example, a morning playlist, afternoon playlist? This was one of the first ideas we had months ago, and it's just been on the back burner. I personally want this. I kind of want my Google Calendar to show from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., let's say, and then everything can rotate. We're just, again, trying to nail the user experience so that someone who doesn't need that can be up and running in a couple minutes, and someone who does need that has an easy way to kind of parse it out. But yeah, that's something that's on our mind. Maybe, for example, in the evening, I would have all non-work stuff. That's when I would show upcoming movies, things to watch online. And in the morning, I'd have my calendar. In the afternoon, I'd have analytics and dashboards. So I think we're on the same page there, Ken. We're just trying to figure out how to do it. This is actually a great idea, though, if someone wants to think through a UX for this and even like wireframe it and throw it in our Discord. We'd be happy to take a look at it. That's really what it's about. Nailing the user experience. It's not about whether we could build it. Rick now says he has a Davis VP2 weather station. Okay, reads his data with Python and creates graphs. Cool. Yeah, all right, Rick, we're going to look into that. I'm going to add it to our public roadmap so that we are taking a look at it this week. Any other questions? Or is there anything else we should demo and show off? Anything you guys want to say?
Well, we said that we wanted to showcase what we're working on, right? I sent you some screenshots if you want to look at that, but maybe that's not.
We can look at some screenshots.
Yeah, it's on Discord.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, just like the evolution of the plugins front end.
Where's it at?
In your DMs.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sweet. We're gonna show you guys some examples of stuff that Lucian's been working on, and this is gonna for the dorks watching. This is gonna it's gonna blow your mind. It's gonna be really cool to see. And why don't I pull up side by side the the current versions of each of these?
Or
how do you think I should
we can
approach
also
it?
look at that, but just so everyone knows, what is the struggles what we're spending our time on and so on.
Yeah, sure.
Can you maybe put them in the preview? Oh yeah, easy.
All right, let me put us on screen share. Okay, we should be in the bottom corner. You should see full screen now. So Lucian's going to walk us through a few tweaks we've made. Take us away.
Yeah, so this is kind of how it looks like, if you don't configure anything when you're creating bitmap images for e-ink screens, right? So e-ink screens don't display things just like LCD displays do. So, this is one of our first renders. It's all fuzzy. So if you zoom into the font, if you zoom in, you can see that, it's very hard to read. Actually, this is not one of our very first few were just unusable. And we got we got into problems that we couldn't even get our patterns to look consistent. It's just a big mess. But through time, we did come around, and just very recently we've been able to configure our server, able to configure our the whole rendering pipeline, our CSS, our browsers that work in the background, are just about everything you can think of.
Plugin, gave you
Ubuntu configs, everything.
Just everything you can think of, every step of the way, has to be configured in a very specific way for us to get a sharp image. And I just noticed actually a few days ago in one store that they started to use e-ink screens for their prices, and they were not readable. It was so crazy for me to see that they wanted that actually stores right now already use this tech, but it's not on par. I cannot read the pricing. I cannot read the price of a product because they just don't get their pipeline right. We have our pipeline. We spent a lot of time doing just that, so we got that right. Our fonts are now crisp. We use pixel fonts for smaller font sizes just to be able to, for them to be very consistent and so on. Even like Japanese characters in small sizes, like here, look great. You can read them. And you know what? Right now we're all watching this on an LCD screen or OLED or whatever, and it doesn't look that great there. But on an e-ink display, these pixels are much more. They're way more soft. They're softer. The blacks kind of blend in with the whites a little bit more. So it all looks much better. So it's the design is designed for e-ink screens, not for LCD, right? And then I just wanted to show you something, because we use like a 1-bit display. We wanted, to keep the price down. We didn't want this product to be like some overpriced, remarkable type of a device, right? That just
Shots fired.
well, no, but it's true, right? It's true. We also want people to own multiple terminals, right? Ronak was saying before that this
one
device.
for work and one for personal life.
Oh yeah, but also we were thinking about like an array of terminals, right? So you could have like on your wall next to your screen, you could maybe have like 9 terminals or whatever, and you could just show all of your important data over there, and like keeping a device price low kind of makes this possible. So we use like a 1-bit display. I'm sure that in the future we're gonna consider something else as well, but for now it's this. So, but I still wanted to, all of us did, but I wanted to nail this and give an impression of a better screen that we have, more expensive hardware than it is. So I looked at a lot of how they did things back in the 80s, especially how Mac OS did things back in the 80s with OS 6 and 7 and so on, and basically tried to copy some of their ideas and what we did was we poured it over, and then with Ronak's help and made it possible for us to use patterns like you see here to plot. This is the GitHub graph. And you can see that we're simulating shades of gray by using intricate patterns, which in turn then when you see it from far away, really looks like the screen would be grayscale. So doing things like that.
Yeah, badass.
We got a question from Jeremy in the chat. If you want to hop back over to there, he asked, "Hi guys, what do you think of a priority function for plugins? IoT, push it up in the playlist order on some specific event or value," right? So maybe that kind of goes back to the notification concept.
Yeah, I think we already have like an identify function when, like, let's say like calendar is something you would want to see and you would like to skip all your playlists to just view the calendar. So we have an identify function wherein you click on a button twice and it will immediately render the calendar or the most important plugin that you would want to see at a tip of a button. So
it's kind of funny. So if some of you saw the recent I think the iPhone announcement, they added a new button on the new iPhone called Action Button. Is that right? Yeah. They stole that from us, because a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, and you can see this in more depth on our Kickstarter. If you go to the updates tab, we wrote a blog post about this. We're calling it special functions. And what Ronak was just referring to, I have my live devices back there, but what Ronak's referring to, there we go, is this reset button that's on the back of the device. You have an on-off switch and then you have a reset button. And we've set this up, we call it special functions, to be programmable by you. It's very simple to do, actually. Why don't I just quickly show you on the device tab. So here I'm logged in, share my screen. Here I'm logged in to my own account. You can see on my device page that we've got this special function feature right here. And this is just a set of options. We currently have 6 different special functions. Rewind or restart playlist was what I think Ronak was referring to. So let's say that you have a high priority plugin, like an IoT device, you could set up your special function to just restart at that plugin. You would just make that the first one in your playlist. Another thing that you might have been asking, whoever just posted that question, I'm going to go back to it. I wonder if you were referring to when plugins are something new happens at that product, right? So if something new were to happen at one of your IoT devices, you would probably want your playlist to maybe be live updated because of that. I can't scroll. Yeah, gotta get back to 0. I wonder if that's what they were referring to. In that case, again, this might be similar to the uptime trackers. It may just make more sense to have another medium by which you're notified about something that's kind of an emergency. But one thing we do is we refresh these plugins on a cadence, and when the data is the same, we ignore it. And so in theory, we could give you a toggle that basically says, only add plugins in my playlist when the data is new. So you wouldn't see your calendar again unless there's a new event. You wouldn't see your weather station data again unless the weather has materially changed, that kind of thing. And that would be relatively easy to do. If Vim is utilized, okay. That's a buddy of ours, and I read his question before I read his name. Carlos, I'm going to put you in timeout for 5 minutes, but thank you for joining.
Carlos, don't worry. I'm exclusively doing all my editing in Vim. Don't worry.
Yeah, one of us uses exclusively Vim. It's very painful to watch and scary, almost. Ken now says, for customers who want to mount multiple terminals, will there be mounting accessories or DIY opportunities? Yes and yes. We haven't, I'm actually going to put this on Bogdan, although I think you won't be able to hear him very well, but he is over here in the chat. But Bogdan is our hardware engineer, and we've talked about different types of cases and designs and ways that you could mount terminal, maybe even like Lutzen said, an array of them. So I don't want to say any of it's easy. Just hardware development, injection molds takes seriously a lot of time. We could have the perfect step file tomorrow, and it would take 2 or 3 months before we have something in our hands. But as we observe you guys, using terminals, if people start realizing that they want a dashboard of dashboards, then we'll definitely make something happen, or at the very least publish the mechanical specs and the widths and heights so that you can DIY something and with a 3D printer. Jeremy says, can it be triggered by a specific plugin? Okay, I think that was the second thing we just mentioned. Generally, the architecture is that we don't do it that way, though, and that's again by design. We're just also used to devices listening in on you and spying on you and sending data back to their server that you didn't give them explicit permission to collect. And so the terminal approach generally is that the device asks us for data. We don't send data to the device. We can't spam you. And your device doesn't send any data to us, actually. It just requests information from your own account. So Jeremy, kind of by design, we're not trying to trigger things externally that then impact the device, but there are workarounds that we can emulate a similar effect.
Yeah, but also that's not to say that someone couldn't create a new firmware for the device and completely change how this all works, right? So
for sure,
I'm pretty sure that seeing how communities can get strong in hardware space, I'm pretty sure someone is going to do that.
Right. You'll get access to your MAC address. You have an IP for your home network. You could absolutely fork our firmware and then have the device ping, have your own web server ping your device, no problem. Wesley says, so refreshing to have some pro-consumer philosophies from hardware company. Well, that's the thing. We're all consumers, right? With the exception of Bogdan, we're not hardware people. We have no interest in spying on you. We want to keep our costs down, so we don't even want a big database that stores all of your information. One thing we mentioned a couple months ago, buried in one of our email updates, is that we set up the terminal database with these images that we're generating to sort of scale horizontally favorably for our cost structures. What that means is each of your plugins, let's say you connect Google Calendar and you connect a weather station, every 15 minutes or every hour when we generate new content, we replace the previous image with the new content. So there's no scenario by which we have a historical log of your Google Calendar events or the weather at your backyard. So if you have 7 plugins, there will only ever be a footprint of 7 images in your terminal account for as long as your terminal account exists. And you know, the marketer in me likes data and likes aggregating things and running stats analysis and all of that. But the consumer and all of us said, just forget about it. You know, it's ephemeral content, and once it's off of your screen, it's going to then soon be off of our server as well. I'm off camera. let me get in here. I do want you to see my face. It's very important to me. Cool. Well, maybe that's about it. We could wrap up. If there's any more last minute questions, we'll stick around and then we'll sign off. Thank you so much for joining and dealing with our technical difficulties. Thank you Bogdan as well for joining. Great to see you, and hope you have a good night.
Nice to meet you all, guys. Like that.
Yes, nice to meet you all too. Thanks again for joining, everybody.
Should say goodbye.
Yeah. Say goodbye. Ciao.
Bye, terminal.